Hey, everybody, welcome back to today's episode of the Opportunity Podcast. We are going back to Cleveland State. We are going to be hitting the ground running, literally. We got Ky'Renae Matlock with us, track
Oh,
star at
I
Cleveland
think I just
State,
lost connection.
and runs the 400. I see maybe you did some throws too. We'll get into that. Your track profile says that, but I think you primarily are a sprinter. So, Ky'Renae, thanks so much for hanging out with us for a little bit. Why don't you just give us a little bit of background about who you are and why the heck you're running for sport?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Yeah, I've been like jumping around with a ton of sports since I was like 3. I danced, I swam, I played basketball, volleyball. So I did basically everything, and every time like I'd always be like sprinting around. Like my favorite for swimming was dry land. My favorite in dancing was warm ups when we'd run around the floor. So it's like I kind of already knew that I was going to be running for sure. Solidified that when I saw my sister running. She's like my idol. She's amazing at everything. She could do everything I can do, but 10 times better. So like watching her be able to compete and do as well as she did, it was like, wow, I can do something like that. And when I started in middle school, I was like, I'm going to be a hurdler, I'm going to be a long jumper, I'm going to be a sprinter. And then they were like, you're going to be in the 100 and you're going to throw shot and disc because I was tall. So I was like, oh. So I did shot and disc, and I really, really loved disc, and I had no technique whatsoever. I just did a power stance, and I just loved it. So I held on to that for a while, like all through high school, and still just did a power stance because my height helped me out there. But definitely primarily a sprinter. I've been just doing the 100 and 200 until this year when my coach was like 400 actually, and I was like, oh, never knew that was in the books at all. And there was a tear in my eye. It was crazy, but yeah, that's
Uh,
basically it.
nice. Well, the disc is such a technical, like weird thing, and anybody who could do it with any level of success, it's like that's amazing because it is not an easy thing to do at all, or to even like teach. Like you can kind of know the technique of it, but like odds are you could probably teach it but you couldn't do it, kind of thing.
Yes, something I really experienced this year too. Like I said, I did power stance until I was a senior, which was so embarrassing, but like it's just what worked for me. I experienced this year like just restarting my technique and being able to know what I'm supposed to be doing and just not being able to hit that at all. Something so interesting about that is just like you can know every stance you're supposed to be hitting, and you can know exactly what you need to do. You can feel it in your body. And one wrong step, one like overstrided push, and it's all like you're throwing it and it's doing front flips.
It's
So
over.
it's so difficult to get a grasp on.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. But when we look at, you're like, hey, I was doing all these other little, things as a kid and in middle school and stuff, and I'm just sprinting around all the time. So you enjoy the part of sport that like literally nobody likes to do, which is like sprints and running.
Yeah. Enjoy is like a strong word. Um I have like a good like runner's high after, and I'm like, wow, that was great. And in the middle, I'm like, why am I doing this? I chose this. So I definitely enjoy it after. I enjoy the adrenaline before. The whole middle part, it's it's iffy, but everything else surrounding it, love it.
Sorry, you froze on me for a second there, but all good. Um,
Sorry.
so you grew up, you played a little bit of everything. At what point, like in middle school or high school, as you're kind of looking up to your sister who ran, at what point were you like, I'm going to be a college runner? Like that's what I want to do.
I think I kind of realized it after my sophomore year in high school when like it because I my freshman year was COVID year, so I didn't get that first year of high school. And then my sophomore year, I was like, wow, I got pulled up to run with like the big girls, and I'm on like these relays, and I'm in the opens, and I had so much pride in everything that I was doing that it was like, this is what I need to do for the rest of my life. And I like realized that, and then some teams like started contacting me just a little bit just to see some things. I was like, oh wait, I can do this. And I started looking into other stuff, doing recruiting, like pages and stuff, and I was like, wow, like this is something that I take so much joy and so much pride in, and I can continue doing it. I don't have to let it go, which was something that was big for me.
Yeah. Well, and you're from Ohio originally, and you land at Cleveland State. Was that, comfort of staying close to home? Is that what you aspired to do? Was Cleveland State kind of like always on your radar just because of,
Well,
maybe closer to home?
yeah, a little bit. I'm about an hour away from my house here in Cleveland, so it's a little bit helpful just to know that I have that short distance if I needed anything. I don't really go home often, but it is comforting to know that. And then Cleveland State's always been on my radar for academics. I actually enrolled here before I even knew I was going to be on the track team. Um, they have an amazing law school, which is what I'm looking for after. So it's always just been in my mind. And then I looked at times, I was like, wow, I'm really close, but I should just go, like, head first, jump in. And then the coach contacted me. I was like, thank God.
Well, okay, so we're at Cleveland State. Like you weren't even, running was like a bonus. You're in law school. Like, dang, do you have something? Do you have a particular avenue or something that you want to pursue law wise?
Yeah, well, right now I'm a freshman, so it's very new, getting everything just like in line for myself for the next 4 or 5 years. I just know I want to go 3 and 3, then go into law school, go into civil law, and then eventually jump into politics, just to, like hit the ground running, just jump right in head first. That's what I've been doing for my life, so I might as well keep going.
Nice. Well, making the adjustment, like jumping from high school, like obviously probably curriculum wise, from like going to high school to getting into law school, and kind of the everything kind of is heightened and a little bit intensified. I'm assuming the same thing with, you know, uh, kind of sprinting, and you went from like 100s and 200s, now you're in the 400. The times are like 2 seconds apart, separating like first and fourth place. So, what has it kind of been like now running at the next level, I guess, for you?
It's been a wake up call for me, honestly, because and you hear it with a lot of new college athletes, like you're the best at your school for a long time, and then you get to that next level and you're competing with people who have been just training their entire lives, not just what you've been doing. And then you have the girls that come in unattached who are like 30, who are mind-blowingly insane. They're just amazing. So it's like, wow, you need to work so much harder to get to where they started. So it's like, for me, it's just been about realizing that I need to do more. I need to put in more work. I need to put in more effort, and then the times will start showing. So, like, I've been looking at my times from weeks before and saying, well, I would have been at this place at this meet. And it's like, but you're working.
Yeah. Well, what do you, and right, I think before we hit record, we talked about, hey, you're like in indoor season right now. Do you have a preference as like a sprint type, events, indoor versus outdoor, or do you like being kind of out in the world on the track?
Definitely love outdoor more. Just especially being in Ohio, like when the weather starts to change, it's like, wow, I'm so happy. But the indoor thing is always a little bit difficult because with sprints, they're usually on 200, 300 tracks, so it just feels like you're running for forever. Like a 400 will be 2 laps instead of just one big one. So yeah, definitely love. I like the closeness of indoor though. I get to see all of my friends in different events, which is really I love that. I love being supportive of a team and having a team being supportive of me. But I do love outdoor more.
Nice. Well, did anybody, you said your sister ran. Was that kind of like the driving force in having you run? Like, what's your kind of family background? Or you just got like athlete parents too? Or how were you in a little bit of everything and just competing kind of growing up?
Yeah, well, my dad was a college athlete for a while, and so he's always just kind of preached to us is to do what you like. Just try everything and pick one thing that you really like. So I'm the youngest of five. So all of my siblings wrestled, played football, ran track, did golf, like just everything. So seeing that as the youngest, I'm like, man, I gotta step it up. I gotta do something. And especially watching my sister, she did a million things. She was a soccer player, track runner, golfer, swimmer, dancer. I was like, I could do this stuff So it helped having older siblings that my older brother also played at Lake Erie for football, so it's like seeing them be able to get to their dreams and do what they want to do with that was always inspiring and always something to look up to as the youngest. It's you always look to what your siblings are doing and your parents and stuff. So
Yeah, and in kind of track in the college setting, it's very much like you're an individual, but there's this overarching kind of team aspect to kind of winning meets and things like that. I saw like you're running the 400. Are you doing the 4x4, the relay
yes.
too? So how is have you always run that event, or what is it like when you're now, very individual as like a sprint runner, and now you're also, in a relay, kind of relying on, your teammates?
I've never ran the 400 until this year.
Okay.
So big investment going from these shorter sprints to this long, one of the hardest events in my opinion. But it is definitely super, super different to rely on so many people just to get where you are. But you also, there's also a feeling of they're relying on me too. So it builds on each other, if that makes any sense. Like, I know that if I get put in a bad position by them, like, I have to catch up, but they know that if something happens and they put me in a bad position, that I'm going to be able to catch up. And it's just like, and I know if they put me in a good position, I have to hold it. It's just, it's very give and take, and you know where you have to be, you know how you have to work together to do well.
Well, and it sounds like coming from a larger family, like you're one of five, and kind of just like being in like the group support kind of setting and not being too far from home. Do they come out for meets? Like, do you have the biggest fan section while you're hitting? Hopefully, only one lap, but maybe two.
Yes. My coach made a joke that my family's gonna be at every meet because my sister's trying to make a North Carolina meet too. So, I definitely have the biggest sections. I had the one meet, I think I had like 10 people there for me. Um, and that support system is always really great, especially like as a new student, as a freshman. It's just it makes me feel stronger when I'm running.
Yeah, I think you're probably a valuable member of the 4x4 with, the whole section. It's like, it's not just you, it's the rest of the team. They probably feel like they got the whole gang with them too. So that's an awesome opportunity just in itself. So you're super young in your, academic and your athletic career at Cleveland State. What is the next kind of couple years look like for you, like goal wise, and kind of what you want to achieve, in the sport, and I guess just as you progress academically?
I think academically, just as a student athlete, like my student is first, so my academics are always I'm trying to be stellar. I want to get a 4.0 like all 4 years. I got that the first. So that's my goal right there. And then athletically, I just want to keep getting better. Like that's all you can really strive for, especially in such a competitive and close sport. You just have to really fight yourself before you can fight anybody else.
Yeah, like I said, I was kind of like looking at times, and it's first to fourth, not a whole lot there, So, what is that like when you're actually in the middle, of a run, knowing that it's that close? Obviously, like you're in proximity to the other runners, but kind of what's that like for you mentally to push forward and, get better yourself while you're literally competing with people who are 1 second, give or take, from you?
Yeah, mentally, it's just always like in my head, push, 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 keep going, like keep going. You have to break this time, break this time, break this time, and that's just what's keeping me driving. Especially that last 100 of a 400 is the hardest 100 of your life. So that the whole time is just get out fast, get out fast, get out fast, and then you hit that and it's push, push, push. You have like I every time before I get in the blocks, I always have like a little calming moment. And I go, you have no one to beat but yourself. No one to beat but yourself. Just get out there. And that's like what my mentality is whenever I'm running is just beat yourself right now. Because I think with me especially, like I'm my biggest competition until I get to a certain point.
Okay, so you're in like indoor season right now. talk to the people about track hack. What the heck is going on?
Track hack is the worst. It's like I don't know the actual science behind it, but I do know that the air in indoor facilities is so thin. It's like it's unbreathable, and you're sprinting and everyone else is also breathing the air. So by the time you get done, it's like you're breathing in this much air and like all of your sweat, and it just like gets stuck, it feels like. And then you have the worst, nastiest sounding cough that could ever be had by a person. It's like it somehow sounds dry and wet all at once. It's so awful. And you have that until the next meet, and then it starts over again.
And then outdoor finally comes and you're like, oh, thank God we can like breathe again. That sounds like,
Yeah.
how in the heck is this like even a thing that like an indoor, like that seems like something that needs to be solved.
I wish it could be. Like it's insane where you have it's the one sport everyone's sprinting in and running in the entire time and they're gasping for air and there's just no air.
I would think like as like a sprinter and runner, like the first time I was like, oh, there's an indoor season. Cool. Like no elements, like it should be perfect in there. And each athlete that I've talked to is like, oh my God, it's disgusting running inside. We hate it. Which is like,
Yeah.
I thought it would be completely opposite, but just shows you my lack of indoor track experience. Um, so when you go from indoor and like then you finally get to the outdoor season, is that like everybody's real like is that actual go time for a season
Yeah.
is being outside?
Yeah, that's when everyone's supposed to be peaking is outdoor season. It's like mid outdoor season, that's where you want to be at, like you're going up and you're hitting it. So indoors is kind of a warm up. It's like everyone's getting back into shape for the season and they're seeing what their times are and how many seconds they're gonna drop when they get outdoor. Like you look at when you do like a bank track, it's like seconds faster and that's like the closest to an outdoor track and people get outside and they step on it.
Well, so with like, you're in spring training basically, like you're trying to hit your stride to get to the outdoor season. What is just like balancing like, practices, extra workouts with the school? Like what does your kind of normal day look like with the time that you have to put in for kind of each of those things to be successful?
A normal day looks like a lot of planner, looking at my planner a lot. So on like an average day, I'll have track practice at 6 in the morning, and then we'll have a lift after that until about 9:30. And then usually I get back to my dorm and I clean and I set up my day. And like I'll cook, I'll clean, and then I'll do homework for the next couple hours, and then I'll go to class. And then I will come back, cook, clean, do some homework for a couple hours, and then I go to throwing practice at about like 4-ish. And then I'm there for like an hour, hour and a half, and then it's the decision of am I gonna cook again or am I gonna go to the dining hall? So I'll do that. I usually cook. I'll cook, I'll clean, and then I'll get on some homework again. And then for like the last hour of me being awake, I scroll on my phone for a while.
We got to get you on like a meal prep or something. That's like way too many cooking all in the same day. I'm sure it's like fresh and good and balanced for you, but we got to get you meal prepped out. That's
Yeah,
just
I just
time
made some beef
time
and rice
waste.
for the week, and I was like, "That's good."
So if you got to get up early, you got a ton of school stuff going on, you got two practices, a lift. Do you go to bed? Like, what time are you going to bed? Like, are you just like, are you naturally an early riser to be like running by 6, or is this a struggle?
It's definitely a struggle, and I get made fun of a lot, especially by my siblings. I try to be in my bed by 9 o'clock and like asleep within that next hour. If I'm not, I'm angry. I'm tired. I feel like I'll run like the slowest I've ever ran. So it's definitely a balance of like I need to get all of this stuff done and be in bed by 9, and whatever I don't get done, I start over again the next day.
You got the schedule down. You got the schedule down. Well, you know, 4.0 student, working hard on the track. What is Ky'Renae all about outside of that? Like, what are you into? You said you played some other things growing up. Like, Are there other sports you're into? Like, what are you doing on the 2 seconds of off time that you've got?
Um, I do. I love like just watching sports. Like I'm a big basketball fan, so I love just like turning on the TV when I have some free time watching that. And then if I'm not doing that, I'm reading, which is like a little bit boring, a little bit grandma, but I'm reading. Or I'm like hosting people over at our dorm. Like we'll have like we had chocolate covered strawberry night the other night, and we did that. So I'm big on just like having quality time with stuff. Whenever I'm reading with a friend in the room, or I'm watching TV. I'm just big on quality time with everybody.
Nice. What was were we like just doing straight, like dark, milk chocolate, dark chocolate? Were we doing the white chocolate thing? Like, I know it comes in a kit now. Like, what was Strawberry Night set up?
It was a mini rice cooker filled with chocolate chips and then strawberries. And then I remembered we all had pretzels. And then we ate all of the pretzels. And then we ate all of the strawberries. And then my friends went home. So it was just very basic, very quick and messy.
Nice,
And there was a
nice.
lot of burnt chocolate that went on. That was the worst part.
I would assume in the rice cooker, like you got to have the temperature like perfect. You can't have it like overheated, but you definitely got to get it completely melted. You can't have it chunky. So
Yeah,
you'll get it
that
dialed
was
in
the
for next year.
struggle of the night.
So when you're flipping through the TV, you're scrolling a little bit, you're watching some basketball. Like, who are some athletes you look up to or you like to watch? Hoops wise or anything else?
I think my favorite athletes right now is uh Aiden Hutchinson on the Lions. He's just an amazing. Like I love watching him because he came from Michigan, which I'm obsessed with Michigan. As an Ohio person, like a sin, but love Michigan's teams.
Yikes! I can't believe you
Yeah,
just said that.
I know. Um, but basketball wise, I've been obsessed with Scotty Barnes. He's just I love the Raptors. I don't like any Ohio team except for baseball, which is also like everyone's like, "What? You live in Cleveland? You don't like the Browns? You don't?" I'm like, "No, unfortunately, I don't." So I've been loving watching Scotty Barnes. He's a like great and upcoming basketball player. He got Rookie of the Year a couple years ago. So I've just been obsessed with how far he's come, and it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, all right. So we got the north of the border Raptors, the team Drake up there. Um, that's cool. As far as like Cleveland sports, not super into the Browns, which like I can't blame you there. That can
Hard
be
to
a
be into
tough.
the Browns.
Yeah, but the Michigan Ohio thing like that. I don't even know if we should like publicize that. I don't want you to get the hate for it, but especially with Michigan like winning national championship in football and
Happiest I've
the
been
whole
in a
deal.
while, I think, when I saw that too.
Oh my gosh. Cool. Well, what else do you got going on? We'd love to keep connecting. I'm glad you could take some time and kind of share about who you are, what you're doing, law school wise, and I know you're new to the 400, but I hope you keep working it and crushing it. Anything else? Like, what socials are you into? Like, where can people follow you? Where can we keep up with Ky'Renae?
I'm on Instagram and TikTok all the time. My Instagram is Ky'Renae Matlock, full name, and then my TikTok is Ky'Renae34. Um, and keeping up with me, we have some indoor conference meets next week, and then a couple weeks later we'll be in Atlanta for our first outdoor opener. So if you want to keep up with that, anything live stats, it's always fun to watch and fun to see where everyone's placing and everything. And watching all Cleveland State sports is amazing.
Is there any what do you guys got as far as streaming? Like, can we watch this live or like do we just gotta kind of like stat check
Live,
here?
yeah, just it'll be on just live reports, no live results, no watching live, which is so unfortunate. I wish they would stream track meets. I'd watch every single one.
We'll stat check it. We'll see where you're placing and we'll be pulling for you. Is there another, I know you're not big into the other Cleveland stuff, but as far as Cleveland State goes, like do you have another sport that you like to go and watch or do you got some other support that you like to give? What's big at Cleveland State?
All of our teams, in my opinion, and it's probably biased, all of our teams are amazing. I know our basketball team, our girls and men, our men's and women's basketball teams are insane. I'm rooting for our women's team to make it to March Madness. They're ranked number one in the league right now, and the men's just had second or third longest winning streak in the history of college basketball, which is just absolutely insane. So that's a place to be right now, is watching basketball. And then once our spring seasons start, we have softball, lacrosse. I think we have some fencing going on. So anything that's
Fencing,
happening, I
wow.
like to be there. Yeah, we have an amazing fencing team.
I'm gonna look
Like,
into that
so
now. Like we're deep into Cleveland State. I gotta figure out the fencing world and get educated here on what's going on with the skinny sword.
yeah, they're great.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep up with you, Ky'Renae. We're now we got to keep an eye on men's and women's hoops and make sure they win that conference tournament and get into the big show. But we appreciate your time. It might be like book time for you, maybe. I don't know.
Doing
You're
homework
probably
after
gonna go.
this.
Yeah, you're gonna go cook. So we'll be keeping up with you. We really appreciate your time and good luck getting through spring. And don't cough too much, and we'll get you back outside.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.